Russ, tell us about the cuts the Trump administration is recommending when it comes to NPR and PBS. Welcome to the program.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Charlie. President Trump and the White House are sending up to Congress when they get back in 2 weeks a proposal to cut $1 billion for the Corporation of Public Broadcasting. That's predominantly NPR, PBS, which isn't just leftist indoctrination, where you're not covering the Hunter Biden laptop or the fact that the Wuhan lab leaked the coronavirus, but you're actually on the forefront of the cultural revolution in this country and pushing programmatic coverage to children about drag queens, dividing us, doing documentaries about white privilege and reparations. And then on the other hand, we have $8.3 billion in DOGE cuts to USAID, which is all the things that we've heard that shock the conscience of waste, fraud, and abuse there. Everything from paying for Sesame Street in Iraq to voter ID in Haiti to just flat out pushing of an LGBTQ movement in all of these countries, strengthening the resilience of these movements, programs like Being Gay in the Caribbean. Over and over, when you scratch the surface of all of these programs, literally development assistance, economic support, all of the programs that USAID, you found this funding of a leftist NGO operation that was pushing a very, very woke cultural agenda. We're sending that up to get rid of it, make these cuts permanent. They've been on hold. We want to make them permanent, and we need Congress's vote in this particular set of funds to do so.
So in order to make this permanent, what number is that? The DOGE cuts are what, $8.3 billion to make it permanent? But there's also the larger issue of rescission. Walk our audience through that, please.
Sure, and this is just the first of the series of rescissions bills. As we get comfortable with what's the annual amount of permanent savings that can be done, and if it's multi-year money, we're going to go ahead and send those up, so long as Congress is actually going to be passing those. That's critical. We have executive tools that we can use if Congress is not going to pass these bills, but they've been demanding them. The process is one of an exception or a procedure in the Impoundment Control Act, and you and I know and are not big fans of the Impoundment Control Act and how it has bound the president.
Correct.
But there is a process. It's called a fast track procedure to give an up or down vote in both the House and the Senate without concern with regard to the filibuster that will allow this to be voted on in the House and the Senate. And leadership of both parties has said, look, we're going to get this thing passed. We're going to send that up when they get back formally. They need to be there to receive it, and then we'll start working with them to get the votes to get this thing through.
The other element of this, of course, is the USAID cuts. The elements of this are rather remarkable. I mean, it's from the United States African Development Foundation to the Inter-American Foundation, which has small grants to grassroots civil society organizations in Latin America, the Democracy Fund, $83 million to benefit LGBT in Caribbean. You have to wonder, again, we have no evidence of this, but you have to wonder, like, how much of this actually ended up coming back into American-affiliated politicians or their allies. It sounds very, very suspicious. However, Russ, walk us through this. I know this is actually breaking news. Tell us more about these rescissions when it comes to the USAID and the foreign aid rescission package.
Well, I think the reality of these rescissions is that, I think we all think that government is too big, and it has been for quite some time, decades. But when you see the fine print, when you see what the contracts are, and you see what we're funding, you come away with this aha moment, this realization, of course these countries think worse of us and dislike us because we're funding this kind of garbage in their countries. We would not accept, or we shouldn't be accepting, and part of the Trump administration is to push back and make sure domestically we're not funding this at the Department of Education or USDA. But then you add the fact, this was our foreign policy. This is our foreign policy to fund, quote unquote, the resilience of the queer and trans sex movement government in other countries. Like, what on earth are we doing? And of course, that's going to have an implication as to whether these countries are listening to what our interests. And of course, it has led to great. We would be concerned if we were their citizens with it. And so, one after another, all we did, Charlie, is we took straight DOGE cuts. Contracts, grants, saved. We added them up, and we sent this first tranche. Or we will be sending this first tranche over. So I think the debate is very simple on the Hill. Do you stand with us against these ridiculous items? The president would call them fraudulent, or not? Or are you going to say that there's some issue with regard to these cuts, and that we should actually be in the business of this? And I think it's going to be a very important debate. It's the first in a series of rescissions packages that we will in fact send, and depending on how successful it goes, we'll send more.